Welcome to the Crime Story channel. Today, I bring you a chilling and mysterious tale, the secret of a serial killer who terrorized a city for nearly 100 years. Known only as the Axeman, this killer's identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. What drove this person to commit such disturbing crimes, and why did they disappear without a trace? If you find this story intriguing, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Your support inspires us to create even more captivating videos for you. Now, let's dive into the story. Throughout history, there have been many twisted serial killers, and while some were eventually caught and brought to justice, others remain elusive, forever a mystery. Among these, one name echoes in terror: the Axeman. A figure who struck fear into the heart of New Orleans during a haunting period in history. But who was he? And what drove him to commit such chilling, brutal crimes? Almost a century has passed, yet the identity of the Axeman remains a mystery, one that continues to haunt the city and the minds of many. Our story begins in New Orleans, May 1918, when an Italian-American couple, Joseph and Catherine Maggio, were found brutally attacked in their home. Their throats had been slashed, and their bodies hacked with an axe. The gruesome scene left everyone in shock and disbelief. This brutal murder would mark the start of a chilling series of killings that would terrify the city for months to come. The Maggios ran a popular grocery store on Magnolia Street, a familiar and well-loved spot for the locals. But this was no ordinary crime. The killer didn't take anything, nothing was stolen from their home. The murder seemed personal, as if the attacker had a much darker motive than simple robbery. As investigators combed through the scene, suspicion quickly fell on Andrew Maggio, Joseph's brother, a local barber. A razor from his shop was found at the scene, adding fuel to the fire. But the evidence wasn't as solid as it seemed. Andrew had a clear alibi: he'd been drunk at a party, too intoxicated to have committed such a horrific act. The mystery deepened, and the killer's identity remained elusive, a shadow lurking in the darkness. Just a month after the brutal murder of the Maggio couple, the killer struck again. This time, the victims were Louis Besumer and Harriet Lowe. It was early in the morning when the attack occurred. Louis suffered a fatal blow to the head, and Harriet endured a vicious assault, repeatedly struck with the same axe that had caused so much fear. The brutality was undeniable. This wasn't just a random act of violence, it was something far more sinister. As the weeks turned into months, the pattern became disturbingly clear. The killer was relentless. In quick succession, similar murders followed. Joseph Romano, a local man, was found murdered in his bed, his skull crushed by an axe in a manner that echoed the earlier killings. The same terror that had gripped the city when the Maggios were murdered seemed to intensify with each new crime. By early 1919, at least 12 people had fallen victim to the Axeman's axe. Each death shared the same horrific details: a life taken in the dead of night, with an axe that struck fear into the hearts of New Orleans. The city was being hunted, but no one knew who the predator was. As the body count continued to rise, panic quickly spread throughout New Orleans. People locked their doors, slept with their windows shut tight, and kept one eye on the darkened streets. The question that haunted the city wasn't just who the killer was, but why he was doing this. Was it a robbery gone horribly wrong, or was something much more sinister at play? The fear was palpable, a cloud of uncertainty hanging over every neighborhood. The press, eager for answers, dubbed the mysterious murderer the Axeman, but with each new headline, the mystery deepened. Speculations about his motives ran wild. Was he a madman? A hitman with a twisted obsession? But just as the city seemed to spiral into chaos, the killer sent a message that would send shockwaves through New Orleans. In March 1919, a letter arrived at the local newspaper. And in that moment, everything changed. The Axeman wasn't just a shadow in the night anymore. He had spoken, and he had a chilling demand. In March 1919, the city of New Orleans was shocked by a letter sent by the Axeman to the local newspaper. The killer made a chilling promise: he would strike again on the night of March 19 unless New Orleans played jazz music. The letter revealed a strange, almost obsessive connection between the Axeman and jazz. "I love jazz music," the letter read. "And I swear by all the devils in the region, if you play jazz music in your home, I will spare you." It was an eerie demand, one that seemed almost too bizarre to be true. But the people of New Orleans took it seriously. On the night of March 19, the city responded. Jazz flooded the streets, the clubs, and homes. Music filled the air, echoing through every corner of the city. And, as promised, no murders took place that night. It was as though the Axeman's deadly grip on New Orleans had momentarily loosened, all because of the power of jazz. On October 27, 1919, the Axeman struck once more. This time, his victim was Mike Pepitone. His death marked the final attack attributed to the mysterious killer. After this, the Axeman vanished without a trace, as if he had disappeared into thin air. No more bodies, no more terror, just silence. For nearly a century, the true identity of the Axeman has remained one of the most perplexing mysteries in criminal history. Speculations abound. Was he a member of the Italian mafia, targeting Italian Americans in New Orleans? Or was there something more personal, a twisted motive hidden beneath his brutal killings? As years passed, theories emerged. Some believed he was driven by hatred, others by a strange obsession. But despite countless theories, the truth behind the Axeman's identity remains elusive, leaving behind only shadows and unanswered questions. For nearly 100 years, countless theories have emerged about the identity of the Axeman. Some have speculated that he was an Italian extortionist, seeking revenge on the Italian-American community. Others have suggested that he harbored deep, personal issues, perhaps a hatred of women, driven by some twisted need for violence. Crime writer Colin Wilson even proposed a theory that the killer might have been a former police officer named Joseph Momfra, who disappeared after the final attack. Despite all the theories, none of them have been proven. The truth about the Axeman's identity remains one of the most perplexing and frustrating mysteries in U.S. criminal history. Every new theory adds more layers to the puzzle, but with each passing year, the chances of uncovering the killer's true identity seem to slip further into the shadows. The Axeman continues to haunt New Orleans, leaving behind nothing but questions and dark speculation. Today, the Axeman's crimes still cast a dark shadow over the city of New Orleans. His legacy lives on in books, movies, and documentaries, and the mystery of his identity continues to captivate the minds of those who seek the truth. Even now, the story of the Axeman lingers, weaving its way through the fabric of New Orleans history. Nearly a century has passed, yet the fear of the Axeman still haunts the streets of this once vibrant city. Was he a monster, a figure of unimaginable evil? Or was he simply a man, driven by forces we may never understand? Perhaps that is the real horror, the uncertainty. And so, the question still remains, who was the Axeman? And why did he disappear without a trace, leaving behind nothing but unanswered questions and a city forever marked by his presence? Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in history. The Axeman's crimes still haunt New Orleans, and his identity remains shrouded in mystery. Was he a monster? A man driven by dark impulses? Or simply a shadow in history we may never fully understand? If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts on the Axeman in the comments below. Who do you think he was? The mystery still continues, and the search for answers goes on.